Okay, so remember how I made a video about this issue about mothership not knowing how to interview people properly or taking their words out of context. So, a while after I made this video, some of my friends dug out information about him, his online presence, and they prompted me to do a bit of research as well into like his blogs, background, and stuff like that. Sad to say, unfortunately, it turns out he is an anti-bus extremist as well. This is why people around the world, wherever you live or wherever you currently stay at, you need to be aware of this particular group of people whom are typically far left wing when it comes to like the political compass. Some of them are far right wing, but they're extremists for a reason. So whether it's like here or whether it's here, they tend to be very, very high up here. And I'll explain why. And it's because there are typically, like in general, there are different kinds of like urbanists. I don't really know what's the difference between urbanists and new urbanists in general, and I don't really want to wreck my brain trying to dive into that. I think it varies. Like some of them love bicycles, like cycling as a mode of transport. Some of them dislike bicycles. Some of them are pro bus. They want people to ditch their cars in and force them to switch to riding buses. And some of them are anti bus and pro railway, pro tram, pro trolley bus, or whatever there is. I honestly don't know which category he falls into, and frankly speaking, I don't give a crap. Because I'm just here to tell you all to beware of this kind of people, especially what they post online. You read it, you will lose your sanity. Their blogs, I mean. The one main thing that I don't understand is that during the mothership interview, he identifies as a train enthusiast. I mean, he didn't really just say like transport enthusiast or bus enthusiast. No, they specified like train enthusiast. And I wouldn't really expect mothership to know if he's an urbanist, new urbanist, or just an everyday like train enthusiast. But in that interview, he says, "Oh, Singapore's MRT is actually one of the best in the world. It's extensive. It's extensive. It's convenient. It's fairly clean, fairly efficient." Interviewer then proceeded to say, "If it's one of the best in the world, do you think then Singaporeans complain way too much?" And then I've already talked about this in the video. Uh, and then he talked about like sensationalizing effect. And then he says that like compared to places like New York, Paris, or London, uh, hold on, that Singapore's MRT experiences far less disruptions. So he kind of portrays like a really innocent image in front of the media, but then on his blog he is two-faced as shit, judging by what he writes. He does a complete 180 degrees and says the exact opposite of what he has said to the media, which I think is just blatantly very dishonest. It's like, why do you have to give people like two separate personalities of yourself? Like, why can't you be consistent in your points and arguments? And when you look at his articles about how he yaps about like higher order modes of transit, even though that's completely bullshit, you can clearly see that, oh, he's an urbanist. And sometimes he gets a bit delusional. More delusional. This one I can give it to him, but like you can clearly see he's one of like the urbanists or new urbanists. And I kid you not, an extremist has tendencies to follow other extremists as well. I'm not going to elaborate much on that. So he talks about reliability. He talks about Singapore MRT's reliability falling off a cliff, brought in stakeholders, brought in MKBF, which is typical of most bloggers, very analytical, and they just love number crunching. I have seen this trend a lot with like new urbanists in general. This point, he already made a critical error. There is a reason why Singapore doesn't compare their own reliability, like they don't benchmark their own reliability to the reliability of rapid train lines in other countries. Simply because there is no rapid train line in Singapore. So obviously, that alone would be an unfair comparison. This part I can give it to him. There's nothing really wrong about this, but yeah, this is a little bit. Uh, Over here is something a little bit more relevant because it's comparing subway with subway or metro. This one is just talking about the general differences in how they tally number of disruptions, length of disruptions, and how Singapore's figures are inaccurate or maybe a little bit skewed. I don't deny that. Keep in mind, he is aware of this fact. Then he starts getting overly idealistic. So he tries to imply that if you take like Tokyo Metro for like longer distances or longer durations, then it is not efficient. No, you need to strike a balance between fast and convenient. Just because it's fast doesn't necessarily mean that the train will arrive at your doorstep, right? So these, I don't know how he calculated these, but okay, at least it's general facts. And then it spirals downhill from here. He's like, consider Boon Lay to Raffles Place commute. It's about 20 kilometers long and takes about 40 minutes. Then this idiot starts comparing a literal metro subway line to a fucking heavy railway long distance commute line that typically has higher speeds. Huh? I also noticed that a lot of these bloggers, right, the flow in their essays is just not there. It's like they're talking about A, B, or C, and then suddenly they just bring in D, E, and F and try to change the narrative to. It's like they're trying to force fit D, E, and F into A, B, and C's narrative. So you've already established the difference between a subway and a heavy railway commuter line, whatever you call it. And then all of a sudden, like we've already established that difference. And then all of a sudden, you start talking about how it's disappointing that Boon Lay to Raffles Place isn't being run by a heavy commuter line. It's like, so in short, right? You talk about the difference between heavy railway line and subway. So I would be expecting you to compare only like just purely subways because that's what you're concerned with. Then you suddenly bring in heavy railway line again, or lack thereof, which is which just destroys the flow of like the arguments in general. And honestly, right, like every time hear people using all these nerd terms like orbital, radial, cyclic demand, cumulative demand, and whatever bullshit they come up with as a collective, I start to switch off. So this guy, he doesn't work in the industry, but he's here sitting on his fucking couch, getting drunk, typing a lot of bullshit, and just purely whining about the fact that Singapore doesn't build enough MRT lines or doesn't build them fast enough. Paris, I love Paris. Even though I say Singapore's metro is like better than Paris in the mothership interview. Being a rough comparison, it doesn't detach from the fact that you're comparing two completely different things in your previous sections. And then he starts getting more schizophrenic. And anybody who supports SG trains, I do not take them seriously. Fuck SG trains. Group of bullies. And then he starts talking about how MRT is better than bus in all contexts. But with manpower shortages in the bus industry, any way that we can switch these commuters to more efficient, less manpower intensive rail will be welcome. It's ultimately down to two factors: space constraints and the LTA's reluctance to build over roads. Those limitations affect the costs and efficiency at which we build MRT lines, and it also affects what MRT lines we can build. And then he goes on to say, I don't like building underground, so why not we build above ground or ground level instead? And then he starts getting even more delusional. So he's saying, fuck cars, fuck roads, every single road in Singapore must be transformed into MRT and LRT. And the roads should only be used by certain vehicles. Which is basically what pretty much every new urbanist or urbanist says. You don't design roads for every single road user. You want to limit road usage to only a few road users. Then why do we even build roads in the first place? Okay, you know what? You're rich. You give LTA the money. You lobby them. We'll see how that turns out. So basically, you're just speaking to. At this point, it's like as if you're just speaking to people who want to get from Pasir Ris to Joo Koon in 1 second. Bro, this guy is really telling the architects or engineers that everything has to be coordinated properly and you know, just another guy on the internet yapping, just armchairing like, why are there delays? Everything must be perfect in my ideal world of urbanism. And the thing is, what's wrong with them? If they want to take a bus long distance, if they love bendy buses, they want to go on a long ride with bendy buses, go for it. You love double deckers and you love seeing the view in front or from the sides as well. Go for it. You're a car enthusiast. You love driving. And the thing is, right, I do agree that like with lesser cars on the road, the car enthusiast would finally be able to, drive in peace. But I am completely against forcing people onto a mode of transport that they are clearly not comfortable with. This is why urbanists or new urbanists in general, they are quite authoritarian, and authoritarian in the sense that like on the political compass, they are like way up there, whether you're left or right, I don't know, I don't give a shit, but basically they just want everybody to commute the same way as they do without accounting for everybody's individual needs and preferences as well. That takes up finite bus resources, but it also means it'll be harder to shift commuters from buses to the JRL when it is ready. So basically, this guy is just saying, fuck your buses. I want you all to take MRT, whether you like it or not. And I'm just gonna say, this world has no place for dictators like you. You do not dictate how people commute. This is the only part where this guy even makes any sense. Dude, this guy is just a fucking yapper. It's like, he wants more MRT lines, and then yet he's talking about this. So, I don't know what the fuck do you want? Like, wave a magic wand. The MRT lines will appear magically, like Minecraft creative mode. I mean, duh, you just answered your own question. Dude, the thing about bloggers is that they have to like talk in circles and they cannot get straight to the fucking point. Okay, we all know that Changi Airport Group doesn't like public transport. They aren't the most friendly to buses and trains. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I agree. But at this point, right? It's just like this guy is like making noise for no reason. You make noise on the internet, but it's not like anything will change, right? It's not like the government is gonna build shit faster because you demand for it. As in, like you as an individual. My friend has also read this article, and these are all his unedited. It's Facebook Messenger, by the way. That's why the format is like this. It's his unedited words. So this is his reaction in general to the overall article, and I'm just gonna read it to you. The first few paragraphs are fine. As I started reading further and further down, it gets more and more outrageous. Not saying I fully agree with LTA either, but he's wrong. Building metro lines overground has its own set of problems. LTA is not wrong with their preference in building underground because, yes, you may have the road space to build overground, but what you'll end up with is a windy train line that follows contours of your primary roads, meaning like your major roads. I know some MRT lines they actually go inside like the smaller roads, but in general, most of them they tend to follow the major roads. You will basically end up creating another or more Bukit Panjang LRTs, like light rail version, and no one wants that. Commuters hate it because it's a roller coaster. Maintenance crew hate it. Train operators hate it as well. So it's like a lose, 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 lose situation. And even the previous transport minister admitted it as well. More sharp bends equals more flanging, if I'm not mistaken. More flanging means train wheels wear out faster, and that translates to higher maintenance costs. Commuters hate it because you will end up with a noisy, turbulent train ride, which you will then see train operators doing aggressive speed restrictions to combat whatever is above. And that in turn will affect your travel times. Hold on. Okay, this is like part two of his responses. Oh my god. Okay, I'm just gonna zoom out a little bit so that it doesn't get cut off because my phone is stupid. Then it will lead to complaints as to why your train line travel time, why it's so slow. Then when people realize actually like buses and your new train line the travel time is like more or less the same, they will just choose whichever feels more convenient for them. Like if the train line stops, the station is like outside your doorstep, they would take the train. But if they are along like in between two LRT or MRT stations, and their doorstep is basically in between them, and the bus goes to that intermediate stop. Uh, Actually, intermediate stop. I only really use this term when I compare bus to bus. I never really say it when comparing it to trains, but it's more of like basically between two MRT or LRT stations, there's space in between. And if you happen to live in that space in between, like especially if you are like smack dab in the middle, you are nowhere near either side, you would find it more convenient to take the bus to your doorstep. Regardless of whether you take the bus long distance or short distance, it doesn't matter. But yeah, this just explains the more convenient part for them, which Thompson East Coast Line is the textbook example of this happening. Simply because the portion of Upper Thompson Road in between Springleaf MRT and Ang Mo Kio Avenue 1, or like Sinming, but I'll just say Ang Mo Kio Avenue 1, between Ang Mo Kio Avenue 1 junction and Springleaf, Upper Thompson Road, they only have access to 167 and 980, which means taking Thompson East Coast Line would be completely out of the question. And even if you give them like a feeder bus, just saying like conceptually a feeder bus from, let's say, Upper Thompson, or let's say from Springleaf to their actual doorstep, they wouldn't really want to take it because they prefer 167. It's like if there's already 167 at Dhoby Ghaut, Somerset Orchard, Scotts Road, Newton Road, Thompson Road, if they already have 167 at their doorstep, be it the start point or the end point, they would prefer 167 because it's just more convenient for them. Even if its frequencies are like 30 minutes or 20 minutes peak hours, like in the future, because there are plans to silently revert the frequencies back to 20 minutes for peak hours only. But yeah, so why the fuck is he suggesting to build more train lines that's going to end up like Thompson East Coast Line? It's like you build it, it's not popular, it gets underutilized, and people like this blogger are just gonna blame it on the fact that buses compete with the railways. I hate bus. I want every single Singaporean to take the train. I'm gonna go back to this. Uh, it means buses aren't competing with private vehicles like they were never meant to compete. Okay, the thing about urbanists and new urbanists in general is that if you own a car or if you do car sharing, I don't know which one specifically or both, but they will try to guilt trip you and say, no, you have to take public transit. And if you don't, we will force you to use it. They're this kind of people. Okay, so let's get that right. But then again, they were never meant to like compete in the first place, okay? Some routes train is more convenient, some routes bus is more convenient, some routes car is more convenient, especially in Japan's suburbs where connectivity is shit. I'm not going to elaborate, I've already talked about that in many of my other videos. Go to the suburbs, go to the countryside. Don't even say the countryside, go to the suburbs in Japan and just look at how god awful the connectivity is, be it by train or by bus. Very limited options. Even for Matsudo, but if you want an even more extreme example, okay, Nagareyama. Or maybe Kashiwa, Abiko, in Chiba Prefecture. Seriously, just go to Google Maps and just look at it. How desolate some parts of these areas are, and people actually live there. I really feel for them. Uh, and bus resources are instead being wasted trying to do things that can be done by higher capacity modes, such as on the city direct services that could be commuter rail or light metro corridors, and even the longer feeders and trams that should really be trams or trolley buses. Even people movers and bus rapid transit. You see, right? We are all on planet Earth. But urbanists and new urbanists, they tend to talk like as if they are from Pluto. And whatever transit solutions that are present in Pluto, they will try to say that, like, oh, it works for Pluto. Now, let's bring these exact same solutions without tailoring it, like literally just copy pasting it, forcing it onto the Singapore, forcing it in the Singapore context, and making everybody adapt to it. So it's like, oh, this planet, this country has this solution. It has to be in Singapore. That kind of thing. This is why it's like impossible to like reason with an urbanist or a new urbanist in general. It's the they do it, we must do it, we must have it, that kind of mindset. At the same time, local connections that are more important to neighborhoods and more suited to the city bus mode are being curtailed whenever a new MRT line which is bullshit. Like, people still take 167, you idiot. Creating gaps in last mile connectivity and reducing the utility, big word, of the public transport system as a whole. Oh, I have a junior college background. I love writing essays. And this sentence alone just proves that he, as well as like most urbanists and new urbanists, are flat out schizophrenic. Everybody must take trains or trams. They bring people to amenities, including transport facility. Why do people insert these like redundant and like self-explanatory statements in their blog? Like, blocks. Like, people aren't fucking stupid. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cut that out, and then you might be able to fit it in the word limit for general paper two's summary section. Guys, you gotta see what these people are writing sometimes. You think of them as kind of a walking accelerator. Buses are walking accelerators. Oh my god, they're not meant to. Oh my god. You do realize that even in Japan, there are long distance trunk bus routes, even though not many, because they are more rail dominant, because their country is bigger. And also the fact that, like, they also have expressway buses as well. Okay, I know that there's a difference between city buses and coach buses, but this guy just flat out says that, like, oh, buses cannot travel for more than like X kilometers. Oh my god. I don't know if this is true, but apparently Mercedes-Benz says that Citaros can carry 90 passengers. 90 is a lot. Bendy buses, right? Let's just take the most extreme example of a bendy bus. Not a bi-articulated buses, but just a regular articulated bus, a bendy bus. Okay? 21 meters. Mercedes-Benz capacity. CAPA, the C is in capitals, and then CITY, the next after that. Capacity, both C's in the word capacity are uh, capitalized. Mercedes-Benz capacity. That one takes 195 passengers. So okay, if you're gonna complain about like and you're saying Singapore's roads are big, right? I mean, he said it, not me. I personally think they're like average. I don't think they're like too big or too small. They're just like perfect. Depending on the road, though, I will say at least it's not so narrow like in London or in Japan in general. I think London's worse, or like some parts of Europe. Even even with narrow roads, they still use bendy buses, and even places like Germany, they have trunk bus routes as well, like inner city bus. They like this guy just doesn't fucking understand that inner city bus routes using city buses, not coach buses, exist. Then again, I have never been to Germany, so please correct me if I have made any mistake. Just saying that Germany gives you options. It's not like you're forcing people onto railways. Geography matters. If you because of like geology or like geographical topographical reasons, you cannot build an MRT line. You cannot build subway. You cannot build like a heavy commuter rail line. You cannot build a tram. You cannot use a trolley bus. Just use a bus. I don't. At this point, right, when you're talking to like a fucking new urbanist or urbanist, doesn't matter if it's like a diesel bus, a hybrid bus, or a CNG bus, a biofuel bus, or an electric bus. Just use a bus. And even in Japan, right, their way to combat like bus driver shortages is to widen the roads, widen the bus stops, and replace two single deckers with a bendy bus. And the frequencies get adjusted. They become less frequent, but their capacity actually increases. Not always the case, but again, he's just like flat out saying Pofma, saying that like buses are too small. Hey, I know Singapore's buses are limited to 60 kilometers per hour, like city buses, like public buses, but did you know that buses could actually run 100 kilometers per hour? Like literally, Europe's buses without a speed limiter are actually faster than Singapore's MRT. So fucking educate yourself, you dipshit. He's probably a person who flies first class regularly, so his opinion doesn't matter. They are called city buses for a reason. They are not coaches. So don't expect too much. I know Hong Kong has like coach like seats, but it's because Hong Kong experiences a temperate climate. Singapore, hot, humid. Temperate versus hot and humid. Temperate versus hot and humid. I need to go back to this guy needs to go back to primary school and you know I don't even care what he does. Just brush up your basics before talking shit online. To Lord have mercy. Astaghfirullahalazim. Has this guy not seen 168? 168. Oh, okay, apparently 168 runs BYD C6s, according to him. And 168 it runs at 10 kilometers per hour. And, and 168 is a nicer ride because it doesn't have like the coach seat. Many Singaporeans they prefer bus for a reason, you dipshit. And if they get a double decker, they get the view in front. That's why they don't like squeezing on board crowded trains. And obviously, right, if it's a metro, there's no point investing in like longitudinal seats, if that's what you call it. They are for like long distance railways. Obviously, look, I can tell you that like downtown line's seats are way more uncomfortable than the worst bus seat there is in existence, like Citaro's seats, for example. Oh my god, stop bringing in private transport. We're talking about public transport and you're talking about private. Oh my god. Stay the fuck on topic, please. I think you need to go back to JC or secondary school and learn PEL. Because whatever you're talking about makes no sense. Correct me if I'm wrong, but most of Switzerland is like located on top of like mountains, and obviously they're obviously going to be different from Singapore. Okay, Switzerland uses these, so Singapore must have them as well, right? It's like I don't get it. Like he dislikes buses, but he wants bi-articulated buses. He complains about buses being too small, too slow, and too lacking in comfort. And yet he wants an upgraded version of buses. Oh my god, please be consistent. In the Mothership article, he's like saying that like Singaporeans take their public transport for granted, but look at who's fucking complaining now. I'm gonna fucking cry, man. Lord Jesus Christ, only begotten Son, Lord God, Lamb of God, Son of the Holy Spirit, you take away the sins of the world, have mercy on us. You mercy to the right hand of the Father. Oh, yeah, I need. Oh my god, like, I don't think I'm able to sleep after this. And since we're on the topic of other modes, why don't we have other modes? Like I've explained, just because they work in Pluto doesn't mean they have to work in Singapore, right? You admitted to that, but if bus works for Singapore, then let's just continue with buses. Just replace more single decks with mini buses, and take note of the space constraints. Don't just replace every single decker with a mini bus. Just you need to know what kind of bus to deploy on what kind of route. It's all simple. It's nothing complicated. Okay. No, nobody is saying one mode does many jobs. This guy is just living on another planet. What do you mean by this? It's like you You say you have to choose the right tool, and then you say, oh, having more tools available. So what the fuck do you want? Make up your mind. And then he says, but those tools must also be employed correct. Like, from here to here, why not you just shorten it to one sentence? The mode of transport that you choose must be employed correctly, or something along those lines. There, I just summarized this entire string of text to just one sentence. Even though I'm not scripting my video, so this is just something that I came out on the fly. So it's still one sentence, not a good sentence, but it's still one sentence. Okay. Just we get your point. It's correct, but like it's not relevant. From a person who doesn't know how the way Singapore's buses work. My God. There's a reason why BRT is never really considered in Singapore. I'm not gonna explain it to you. I'm just educate yourself. Okay. You need personal rapid transit. I don't get what's his problem with that. Like, he's just way too opinionated for his own good. Singapore needs to be more daring with our transport policy. Okay, then. I mean, I don't think this guy has a future in LTA policy and planning, but you do you. Just continue yapping on this platform, I guess. But they're not relevant in Singapore because Singapore is small and their roads are generally not designed for trams. Oh my God. ART, okay, we can consider, but like, there's only a few the places that you can implement ART is quite limited in general. I'm not gonna go into that. Oh my God, this guy is autonomous rapid track. I don't think this is cheap. Okay, I think running buses is cheaper. My. What do you mean space? Hey, buses take up less space than your fucking railway lines. Okay, with what the fuck is prefabric? Can you use terms that people understand? Oh my God, what the fuck does this mean? Modular design. I only know modular. I only know modular like motorcycle helmets. I don't get what the fuck modular design means in this context. Like, and this makes them a viable band-aid solutions while okay, so he's basically saying you build a tram, you destroy tram when commuter rail is ready. Commuter rail is not applicable in Singapore. Subways and metros, yes. Commuter rail is not applicable in Singapore. So why do you even build a tram in the first place? You might as well just stick with this, right? Even though I disagree. Okay, I'm just gonna repeat this once and for all. Commuter rail, like the JR East West Central Shikoku Hokkaido kind, doesn't work in Singapore. Hyperlocal tram. Again, like, I read this article. I have a JC background, by the way, but I don't understand what the fuck he's talking about. Never mind. Nope. No. Nope. No. 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 Oh, even my even my antivirus is worried for my brain cells. Okay. Uh where am I? Where was I? This guy dislikes buses and wants to implement bus lanes. This guy is just. You dislike buses and you want to implement things that speed up bus. Make up your mind. Dude, like, if you're talking about just feeder buses or 861 like bus routes, they're not gonna help! They're short distance bus routes for a reason. This won't help. This one may help, but this oh my god, this one is more of like for medium and long distance bus routes. Even though shorter distance bus routes also benefit from them as well. Oh my god, it's just on roads with a higher volume of buses. That's all. I don't know what I'm talking about this at this point. You just said buses are slow. So why are you trying to improve buses if you like trains, you dislike buses, and then now you're talking about improving buses? Get out of here, man. Like, oh my god. You don't have enough space, you dumbass! You, as a train enthusiast, tell me if there's enough fucking space to expand this to 4 cars without it eating into, like, the curves. Oh my god, like, do you know Fernville exists? Hello? You expand Sengkang, it's going to eat into the private housing. You expand Sengkang, it's going to eat into this side of the road. You you expand Pongo southwards, it's going to eat into the track configuration, you dumbass. I'm not a train enthusiast and I can already see so much bullshit, and I can already sense so much bullshit. Oh my god. Just you need help. You need serious help. Talking about buses and trains, and then now you're talking about Singapore River. Yeah, like as if Alexandra Canal is like wide enough to like fit your water vehicle, aquatic vehicle, whatever you call it. And then you still need the ram to be able to deploy said aquatic vehicle. Oh my god. uh, but you just said you hate buses. Did you know that 858 uses bendies as well? Even if 858 was double-decker friendly, it is still more suited for bendy buses. Why? I've already explained it before. It's because it kind of acts like a feeder bus within like the neighborhood estates or like an inner town bus route. And it's also a doorstep bus service for people going to or coming from the airport. For airport workers, and it's a bigger bus. You have more space to put your luggage. Okay, technically limited space even for a bendy bus, but yeah. I don't know if this guy even knows 858 has bendy buses. But I guess not. He's probably a train fan, not a bus fan. I create a well-designed infographic, and because of that, my opinion is more valid than people who literally run the bus network in Singapore. Never mind. Okay. The transit agency is kept on its toes by political pressure and the legitimate threat of the government of the day being voted out, but these push factors don't exist in Singapore. Okay, it's just talking about the political compass again. Okay, fine. I'm not too like well read when it comes to this one. BCM has brought in more problems than solutions. So this guy is completely detached from reality. Going back to my going back to my My friend's response is, we should be avoiding mistakes made on TL instead. What's more funny is that in earlier paragraphs, like his anti-bus paragraphs or something along those lines, he mentions about how Singapore lacks other modes of transport to fill in the transition gap between a JR like heavy railway commuter line and bus, and lacked orbital inner suburban connect. It's it's too hard for me to digest. Okay, just I mean, my friend is just quoting him, but it's like, use simpler terms. Okay, before that, right? Speaking of BPLRT, it's like a roller coaster, right? Like basically the elevation kind of like follows and stays consistent with the road, which kind of has this like roller coaster design. If you were to build it like completely level like this, it'll be more expensive. And the reason why Chiba Urban Railway or Chiba Urban Monorail, I forgot the name of it. Oh my god, it's embarrassing. I'm literally forgetting the railway line, like the official railway lines for my home country. Like, and then Shonan Monorail as well. Okay, so it's like Shonan Monorail is like closer to the ground. Chiba Urban Monorail, it's like a little bit higher if I'm not mistaken. And Shonan Monorail, right? It kind of has like this thing where it kind of like follows the elevation change. It corresponds to like the elevation change in the ground. If you if you get what I'm referring to, and they do it because of like space constraint. Okay, for like Chiba's upside down monorail, by the way, because there is like a water body, I think it's like a canal or something, and then there's like a road here and there's like a road here, and because you're not able to place your viaducts on the canal for obvious reasons, they need to put their viaducts on the sides, and then they need to have their monorail suspended, as opposed to like having a conventional viaduct. And then Shonan monorail, in a different context, the roads are like very narrow, and sometimes they even pass by like one lane or two lane road. I cannot remember. I just go watch all those Zenman Tembo videos of like Shonan or Chiba monorail, and you get what I mean. But because of space constraints, right, their roads are too small. They cannot just be like east-west line. You build like a railway line on the divider or something along those lines, right? Instead of that, they choose to put like their, how do you even, what are these, like the supporting, the weight bearing pillars to the side of it, and then their monorail becomes like suspended, and then certain sections there would be like a platform, like a safety platform or something along those lines. I don't know what they're for, because I'm not an expert in railways, but again, different context. Because I can tell you, like, some roads, they are just not fit to build either a viaduct in the middle or having this kind of like expensive suspended like upside down monorail, because like Singapore's like the country is so small. It's like it isn't really designed with like these in mind. There's nothing you could do about it. If you could turn back time and like change everything, okay, maybe we could think about it, but it's like it's really really impractical to like implement this in real life right now, especially if your solution says like, I'm gonna get rid of all roads and expressways and everybody must take rail no matter what. I hate land transport, and the only kind of land transport I tolerate are trams, trolley buses, and any form of rail. This is what urbanists and new urbanists think like. Some of them they like bicycles, some of them hate them, but yeah, you get the idea. Some of them are actually surprisingly pro bus, some of them are anti bus, like this guy for example. But there's just so much contradiction in his essay. Again, I'm just explaining that like in the Singapore context why it's like, okay, you want to spam Singapore with like many railway lines, right? Be it underground or above ground, right? And you want to tear down the roads and expressways just to spam more railways and your fucking trams and trolley buses, or autonomous rapid transit ART, or whatever the fuck you're trying to bring in, right? BRT is I don't know. Like, you sponsor LTA the money, because I can tell you it's gonna be so goddamn costly. Your GST would probably be like, I don't know, 59% by then. It's 9% now, right? Yeah, it'll probably be like 59% once this guy becomes the transport minister. Hopefully not. And usually these are the same idiots that advocate for like every single transport has to be free. You would just end up getting the poor citizens taxed more. Uh, can I keep this video to under an hour? Okay. And then proceeds to say, oh, okay, so it's like, my friend says, he says all of this bullshit, and then proceeds to say, oh, we only need buses to do feeder road. And then says, oh, the CDS should be converted into commuter rail or light rail corridors. And then my friend says, although yes, some CDS routes do potentially have sustained demand, which may work when you like convert them from bus to rail. Even though I don't support this, I'm just gonna give you a few examples. Maybe this and this. Not that I support it, but we also need to consider the ability of these routes to recuperate operating costs. Because what my friend is saying is that as 671 and 674, they are cheaper to run. You upgrade them into the term that new urbanists love to use, higher order transit. It costs more. Bus routes can be edited, and the frequencies are easier to control, and the operation hours are also easier to control. Railway, once you build it, unless you tear it down, it is pretty much hard to edit or expand. You can, but it's really hard. And uh, it's like introducing a new bus route is a lot more simpler and causes less inconvenience during the work in progress part. Work in progress meaning like under construction, MRT line under construction. It causes less inconvenience as to like building newer MRT lines. Like, dude, if let's say Singapore actually adopts his schizophrenic ideas and decides to build like 10 MRT lines per year, um, the city would probably be completely not walkable anymore because of how much construction there is going on. So, once again, this guy is living on Pluto. So, again, most CDS, city direct services, just won't be able to recuperate the costs. Let's not even talk about conversion to rail. Let's just say as CDSs themselves, because none of the CDSs actually break even. Their farebox recovery rate, also known as FRR for those of you who don't know, it's actually less than 100%. Even for the best city direct services. Because as long as you have like a bus that has long sectors of non-stop, I'm just gonna say it very simply, you don't pick up and they don't disembark passengers. Okay, it's more of like they don't pick up passengers, right? You get no fare between those sectors. And this would make the farebox recovery rate of the entire service lower. But just because a bus service has a low farebox recovery rate doesn't mean you don't run it. Expressway buses 161, 168, 965, 969, 858, 190, 972. Okay, because it's like if you are along Bukit Panjang Road, you would take 190. If you are inside like inner Bukit Panjang, it's going to draw it very roughly, you would take either 190 or 972 to Orchard. You wouldn't want to take downtown line to like Stevens and change Townsend East Coast line, or you wouldn't want to go the Newton, in which there is like an access penalty for the downtown line north south line transfer to like Orchard, Somerset, Dhoby Ghaut. When you have 190 and 972 at your doorstep, it becomes more convenient. The one thing about these urbanists and new urbanists though is that these anti-bus people is that every single time they see a long distance bus service, their fucking dumbass proceeds to say that it's competing with my precious MRT line. I want people to take MRT. I don't want people to take bus long distance. MRT long distance, bus short distance. OCD, 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 OCD. I can say this because I actually have OCD. But that's actually more like obsessive compulsive personality disorder, OCPD, which is kind of like a subset of OCD, though slightly different, though they have overlaps between the two, between OCD and OCPD. But again, these people are like that, and it's quite hard to reason with them. They are just like, everybody must use this mode of transport. I don't care if bus is more convenient for you. I want you to take train, no matter what. And they will then say it's a crime to take a bus medium or long distance. Every single bus route must be a feeder or something like 861 or 116 or like 73 or like 38, 60. Okay, but then 3 uses the expressway and Tampines Expressway TP bus stop is a major bus transfer hub as well. In reality, right? Buses have their own purpose. Trains have their own purpose. And these people often say that like, no. Buses must be used in conjunction with trains when you're traveling medium or long distance. I don't want you to take bus only. I want you to use a train. Because and my group dictates the train's purpose. In short, they just see long distance buses and medium distance buses, like expressway buses especially, as competition. I don't get it. It's like DTL is catered for people that are closer to DTL Bukit Panjang station in itself. Along Bukit Panjang Road, especially to the east of it, like Block 270 and Block 223, as well as like inner Bukit Panjang, like Senja, Jelapang, Segar, Fajar, Bangkit, you would take 190. You would take 972 instead. I talk faster than I think. Okay, Senja, Jelapang, Segar, Fajar, Bangkit, you take 972. If you're along Bukit Panjang Road, the main road, you take 190. Train line, bus line, different purposes. So instead of like evenly spreading out or segregating demand, 190 and 972, their demand is like very high. But those people insist on like, instead of having lines like this, parallel lines that serve completely different purposes, they are like, you must use the MRT no matter what, at all costs. Taking bus long distance is a crime. And they will be like, Hasbro, 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 Hasbro. Hasbro, 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 the crowded levels, the overcrowded levels is probably like, you know, Japan's railways, they have a figure. This is probably going to be like, if this guy becomes transport minister again, hopefully not. Even in Japan, right? Heavy railway. Oh, my video is going to exceed 1 hour. Sorry, guys. This is also a form of hub spoke. In some cases, right, people just drive their car to their destination. In other cases, if they like own a K car or something, they drive it to the nearest node, mode, whatever you call it, hub, transit hub, whatever you call it, and then they transfer to something else. This is okay. This is okay. But according to new urbanists, they will say that this is not okay at all costs. I might even change it to a bus. Let's just change this to a bus. In reality, both are okay, but they're just gonna insist that no, 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 this route cannot exist. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Every time I see a bus doing like a medium or long distance connection, I get the E word dysfunction. Going back to this diagram, they want it like this no matter what. You have to pass through the MRT at all costs. I don't want car, I don't want bus, I don't want any other mode of transport. I want you all to take a train. That's what they say. And then every single thing it's like, this is competition. 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 Unless it's a train line. Okay, going by his logic, right? Okay, fine, fine, fine. I'm gonna go by his logic. This line and this line. Both of them are competition, right? So let's withdraw the KO line and force everybody on board the 2O line. Okay, another context, right? In case you want more examples. Okay, Sobu line and KZ line. You want to withdraw KC line and you force people on board Sobu line and Narita Express. Or like, I don't want people to take like Sobu Local or Chuo Local. I want people to take only Chuo Rapid or Sobu Rapid because I like Sonic trains. And then I proceed to withdraw Chuo Sobu line because it duplicates Chuo line and Sobu line. It's something as stupid as this, but it's like, as long as something is not a train line, they would try their very best to get rid of it. Or like if it's not like a tram line or a trolley bus line, they would try to get rid of it. Okay, so basically going back. Even them as buses, right? Most CDS services, especially the ones that aren't really breaking, are just like losing money perpetually, like 673, for example. Or what are terrible feeders? What other terrible CDS service there is there? Like 681 or 683? I don't know about AMP, but like, because not only do they not have sustained demand as buses, they also lack the peak demand for anyone to even be considering rail transport to replace them in the first place. My friend basically read my mind. Actually, no, I'm reacting to him reading my mind. I don't know. And that's the sustainability part that I have totally have not seen him mentioning about. He complains about all the maintenance cost cutting, but his own solutions are just going to make the GST go up to like 79% in just 1 year. Yet doesn't seem to understand like the basics, like why it's even happening in the first place. Because he doesn't even talk about specific bus routes other than like Service 400. Like the bus routes that he hates, like the expressway bus routes, the one that he desperately wants to replace them with railways, even though the amount of demand isn't high enough to warrant it being replaced with a rail line, especially given the fact that aside from like AYE, which has like bus stops, because it was just an upgrade of Ayaraja Road and Upper Ayaraja Road, so the bus stops are kind of like a remnant of history, and they were kept because they are obviously useful, right? Other expressways like I'm just gonna bring you back to the map, because I don't even think this guy understands geography. Like, okay, SLE for example, you realize that most of SLE runs through nature, right? And then TPE, it runs through a lot of like open space, either just grasslands or like yet to be developed spaces. It mostly runs through pretty much nothing except like the HDB estates where there is a major bus stop here. So why would you propose using a rail line to replace these bus services when your rail line that you're going to build above SLE and TP, because this guy wants to build railways above expressways, right? When it's like, when you're not even gonna have enough stops in the first place because there's just nothing. The same can be said for like, you look at BKE, it cuts through nature, cuts through nature, cuts through nature. PIE as well, cuts through nature, and then stops cutting through nature. And yeah, you get my point. This guy needs to fucking read up the BKE PIE bus services and their purpose. This guy needs to read up all the city directs using CTE, KPE, some of them using AYE. This guy needs to read up AYE expressway bus routes and its history as well. Could also read up on service 30. Why am I even mentioning 30? Okay, it's more of like for no, what am I talking about? 30 passes by like a part of Jalan Ahmad Ibrahim, which is next to AYE, and then it goes on to MCE. Okay, not a lot, but okay. Service 30 is still an example. You need to read up on service 36, 48, 513, 518, 502, 513 as well. Okay, that's a city direct. Okay, it's not branded as a city direct, but it is a city direct. You cannot deny that. And he needs to fucking read up on the TP bus stop, and because it's like buses bring people to your doorstep, which is what LRT and MRT just cannot do. Buses bring people to your doorstep, whether it's whether it's short distance, medium distance, or long distance. Singapore is so small, it is not worth to run like heavy railway commuter railway. Subways work fine. If you want to explore express trains for future lines, and you can actually justify it that there would actually be demand and it would actually there would actually be some form of like sustainability, okay, go for it. But they are not meant to replace the buses. I'm saying this because he didn't even give any concrete examples. He's just yapping into like open space or a vacuum. Seriously, read up on 161, 168, 858, 965, 969, 39, 85. I can come up with so many bus routes from the top of my head, even service 3 as well. Understand the reasons why, instead of like spamming so many railway lines for no fucking reason, why buses, regardless of whether it's short or long or medium distance, they actually work better in the Singapore context. Especially when you have a like quote unquote idiot proof system where everything is like local stop. Yes, there are some express stopping buses, but for the most part, you know, it's simple, it's easy to understand, and it's convenient as well because buses bring you to your doorstep more so than LRT or MRT. Like doorstep wise, nothing can beat buses. Although short distance, right? Cycling technically could beat it, but dependent on the weather, honestly, because sheltered linkways could only help you that much. For people who have no concrete examples, this video it will basically signal you to know the reasons why you shouldn't take them seriously. If they cannot even quote specific bus services that they are trying to replace, I'm not obliged to actually sit down and listen to them bullshit. This guy is so fucking out of touch with reality, yet somehow gets on Mothership and talks the complete and says the complete opposite of what he has been saying in his fucking shitty ass blog. Just doesn't make any sense. Like, you have the audacity to talk so much about wanting to get rid of buses. You have to own your words, even if people disagree. Like, here's the thing: it's like, this is why what I hate about like fake two-faced people. It's that they put on a certain image for themselves, like across media, front facing, and then back facing they talk a lot of shit. And I'm like, at least be consistent. Why not you bring your fucking hatred for buses onto Mothership as well? And even though we all fucking disagree with you and we all think you're a lunatic, at the very least you're consistent. All I see is somebody who is fucking dishonest and somebody who doesn't own your words and somebody who is so scared to like put themselves onto the media, like actually exposing all of their most nasty. Like, you guys know I expose more of my I expose like pretty much every single of my nastiest thoughts. Even the fact that I ripped off posters from like bus stops, I like admitted it to all of you. I curse and swear a lot. At least I'm honest about everything. At least I own my words. And I'm doing this without a fucking script. This guy scripts everything, and it seems like he's trying to hide something. It's like, to the media, I'm not gonna tell them about my master plan to destroy all buses in Singapore, and the only ones that deserve to survive are the shorter distance ones. I'm going to say that all in my blog. And I will portray myself as this innocent, happy, knowledgeable train enthusiast to the media so that I can promote myself, and eventually every single Singaporean will submit to my evil plans. And so the conclusion is that you should never listen to these kinds of people. These people are in reality urbanists or new urbanists, and they try to pose as like bus enthusiasts or train enthusiasts or just transport enthusiasts in general, but they are not real transport enthusiasts. They like trains because it's environmentally friendly, not because buses or trains or cars or bicycles or what are like precious vehicles that they truly love from like the bottom of their hearts. They don't see them as precious vehicles. They see them as like political tools to get every single person to commute in whatever way they themselves prefer to commute. I do it this way, everybody must listen to me. So in general, you could tell the difference between who is a real bus fan or a train fan or both, who knows your stuff, and who is just a load of hot air. They don't have any good intentions. They only want to put themselves out in the media to seek attention, for self-promotion, and not because they truly care about Singaporean commuters in the Singapore context, because we're talking about Singapore right now. And my message out there to the real bus and train enthusiasts in Singapore is that you guys need to stand your ground and not let these people take over the country, in the sense that do not ever let them enter LT, especially policy and planning, where they would completely fuck everything up and make everybody's lives miserable. So to do that, you need to work together and call them out on your bullshit, and not let them badly influence ordinary Singaporeans. Because unfortunately, ordinary Singaporeans, they are more impressionable when they read an article that sounds intelligent but isn't actually intelligent at all. It's just impressionable and it sounds smart and well written, even though it's actually not. And because of this, these poor Singaporeans would actually take the bait, and then uh, and actually start accepting these false ideas. Like to put it simply, they would just be brainwashed by them. So we need to put a stop to them and not give them any more attention, especially the media. And even if they somehow get attention, we have to work together to educate the public about how public transport is actually like, and it's meant to be operated in the Singapore context, not the Pluto context, not the Jupiter context, not the Japan context, not the Europe context, not the American context, not the African context, not the Russian context, not the Australian or New Zealand context. Singapore context. Context matters. As a country, you guys need to not let them spread more bullshit using the platforms that they currently have or are thinking of creating in the future. These people would literally gain power, take over LTA, and ruin everybody's lives. And I wouldn't be able to have my good food at Lucky Plaza anymore, because they cut all the bus routes. I am a literal train driver, but I don't want these people to get more and more platforms, more and more leverage to spread their bullshit about trains. They are a literal insult to trains. So, makantahi. I would like LTA, PTC, MOT, or the media to interview real bus enthusiasts or train enthusiasts that actually have something to offer. Then fucking junior college essays. Talking shit. I need to go cleanse my eyes after reading this bullshit.